Hi there. My name is Renee Hobbs, and today is Monday, September 22nd. I'm a professor of communication studies at the Harrington School of Communication and Media, and this is LSC 530, Texts and Tools for Children and Youth. I'm here with the graduate students of the Library and Information Studies program at the University of Rhode Island, and tonight looks like we have Michael, Aaron, and Amy joining us. Tammy, I know you logged on a little bit earlier, so I'm hoping you're going to come back and join us. And it's possible that other students will be joining us as well. We have a very compact class, only 12 students enrolled in the program this semester, but I think we're going to have a fun time. And certainly tonight, because we're getting to talk about the wonderful book by Kimberly Reynolds, the Oxford Very Short History of Children's Literature, and that book is just such a treat. So I'm going to do my screen share and see if I can share my screen with you. Now you let me know when you guys see it.
I see it.
Oh, good. Thank you very much, Michael. Okay, so here we are at the home page for the course. That's texts-tools-children-youth. We'll take a look, kind of an overview of what we're going to be working on in the next hour or so. Just a reminder that you can always ask questions and get answers here. This Titan page is a place where you can ask questions and get answers. We had some questions about using Twitter, but that seems to have been cleared up, I think, now over the last week. We're going to reflect on our use of technology. We're going to start our discussion about what makes a good children's book. We're going to engage in some dialogue on two key chapters in the Kimberly Reynolds book. That would be chapters 4 and 5. We're going to think about the relationship between children's authors and their audiences by meeting Mo Willems, the very famous and very popular children's author right now. And then we're going to review some activities for you to complete before September 30th, most important of which is your first reflective essay, which is due a week from today on September 30th. So that's kind of an overview of what we're planning on doing this evening. Let me just see if I can go back. There we go. Go back to the live screen. What I'd love to do is hear from you, Amy, Aaron, and Michael, a little bit about your technology experiences using, I think this week you got a pretty deep dive in using Twitter, and you might also have been using WordPress as well as Etherpad and Flipgrid. So I'd love to hear from each of you about your experiences using some of these new tools that you may or may not have used before. Who'd like to begin?
Ladies first.
Well, what was Etherpad? That was one I think I missed.
Oh yeah, I think it's called TitanPad. That's the
okay.
Open collaborative writing tool. It's TitanPad, Etherpad. It's all the same. They're all brand names of the same concept.
Okay. All right. Well, I will say that I've been impressed actually with how easy it's been. I'm not a huge prior to this course, not a huge technology user at all, and it's been impressively easy to use these things. And in fact, I volunteer in my children's school libraries, and at the middle school library, I was talking to the librarian there and about these, different tools because she was needing to use something, and we went over the pros and cons of Flipgrid and what's the other one? There's one. It's can't think of the name of it now. It's like the name's escaping me. It's another similar one like that. It's another grid thing. And about what could she possibly use for what she was needing. So it's definitely a whole new world.
Okay, cool. But you're not experiencing any problems, and they're surprisingly easy under the circumstances. We're still learning what the affordances, right, the advantages and the capabilities of these tools are. As long as you're not having any difficulty, that's a good thing. Erin, what's been your experience using the technology tools that we're using for this open network learning environment? What's been your learning curve and experience using these tools?
Well, so far it actually hasn't been too bad, just because I'm used to using some of these tools. We had to use TitanPad in one of my classes at Westminster. And so Flipgrid's also been really fun, too. What I've actually had more fun with is trying to learn Twitter, as we've discovered earlier that I've never used Twitter before in my life. And I was at dinner with a couple of friends a couple nights ago, and we were talking about this class, and I mentioned we were using Twitter, and she just got so excited at the idea because she's an early childhood developmental professional. And so she was like sitting there going, I want to start employing Twitter in her work. She was actually very excited by that. She thought it was great to use Twitter. So it got good response from my friends, but I'm still getting to the point where I'm used to the idea of 140 characters because I'm not good at being concise.
Concision is a challenge, and it's intriguing that an early childhood professional would see some of the advantages of that concision. That's a really intriguing idea. One of my very favorite early childhood specialists is named Kim Candle, and she's a pretty active Twitterer. I really appreciate her work. The early childhood educators have a big presence on Twitter, so that is it's a curiosity. Michael, what have been your experiences on your technology learning curve around the new tools that we're using in this class?
It's very interesting because as I take more and more library science courses, I learn more new things. Like this semester, I really had a lot of fun working with WordPress. That was really cool. They made designing your own website or weblog like really easy. So the big thing is following the step-by-step instructions, and once you do that, you get 100% quality products.
Yeah, I'm very happy about the video tutorials that are there, because whenever I get stuck with a WordPress or even a Twitter problem, I sometimes have those kind of issues. I just go to the search engine, and I often will get a video tutorial that will give me those step-by-step instructions to solve my problem. So Tammy, welcome back. We're talking a little bit about what our technology learning curve has been like as you've used Flipgrid and Twitter and the TitanPad and the WordPress. What's been the experience? What's been your learning curve and intellectual adventure with these new tools? Hey there, Tammy. Can you hear us? Not clear. I can see Tammy, but I'm not sure she can hear us.
Not very well. I only hear the word.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can't. Can you hear me okay? I can't really hear you. Goes in and out.
I can hear you really well. So you just can you talk about your technology learning curve?
Okay. Okay, I can't hear you very well, but I think I know the question. So far with the technology, everything has been good. The only thing is on Twitter, I did notice that my posts weren't, they still weren't appearing. So today I went and retweeted about 5 posts that I did. I hope that people got those, and I hope that I'm using Twitter in the right way, because I'm still not sure of it. Like when somebody puts something, I may answer back and it's personal to them, so I'm still learning about Twitter.
Cool. But actually I think you're learning pretty well, and I'll tell you the reason why I know that. So I'm sharing my screen a little bit with you now, and one of the things I want to call your attention to is really what has been happening going on here. So you can see our first activity says reflect on technology with Poll Everywhere. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Use Twitter for dialogue and discussion. Review our tweets. Let's take a look at those polls on Poll Everywhere. That is actually kind of a cool little tool. I asked you guys what was your attitude about Twitter, and here's what you told me. Let's see. It's building the poll right now. 4 of you said, I don't see the purpose of Twitter. 3 of you said Twitter is for the vain, neurotic, and digitally addicted. 2 of you said Twitter was fun. One of you said Twitter is a powerful research and networking tool, and one of you said Twitter is for believers. So your initial experience with Twitter is a little bit all over the map. I asked you about your experience with Twitter last week on the poll everywhere. 4 of you said you've never used it before. Some of you had some experience, and one of you's had lots of experience. I was really especially interested about which of these statements best reflects your experience making a blog. So 2 of you said you couldn't do it. 1 of you said it was very challenging. 5 of you said it was your first time making a blog, but you did it. 4 said you'd created blogs before, and one says you're a pro at blogging. So that looks like a bell curve as a researcher. That looks just about right? That you come from different backgrounds and different life experiences. So of course your experience with that is great. I asked you a little bit about what you liked best about the process. And one thing I love is notice how these things come up. Isn't that cool? These are the feedback that you gave me about the pleasures of making a blog, right? I think that's great. Obviously, it's the creative process that you seem to enjoy the most. But you also were able to tell me about things that you didn't like about making a blog. And this process is not always satisfying to everybody. For instance, fooling around with the picture and still not getting it to look how you want, too many login names and passwords, which LogPress version to set up, and just the whole idea of putting yourself like out there, right? The sort of public nature of it is can be challenging for people. So it seems to me that those perspectives as new users of these social tools seem really important to honor and to recognize. But one thing I wanted to do is show you a really cool way to display our tweets. I don't know if you can see this now. I like to use this tool called Seen, SEEN.co. It lets me search on anything, and it makes it kind of a very pretty display. And I thought this display could help us think about what makes a good tweet and how we engage in dialogue with each other. Students, did any of you who were participating in Twitter have an experience where you actually had some kind of interaction with someone on Twitter? Did anyone have something that you would call an interaction on Twitter?
Do you mean like a conversation?
I'm assuming that's no. Yeah, like a dialogue where you say something and someone talks back. Did any of you have that experience?
Yes.
So tell me about it. What happened?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'd have to go back and look at the post, but I know I had at least one person respond to something I had put on there, and then I think I responded back with them. So, it was like a whole conversation.
Nice. Thank you for sharing, Amy. Did anybody else have an experience that was like a real interaction?
Yeah, I think Audra retweeted me or responded to one of my posts, and then I couldn't really think of anything to say back. Like, she had me thinking really deeply about what she'd said. So I guess in that sense it was good. It kind of made me think on a deeper level about what I tweeted.
Neat. Thank you so much for sharing. I'll tell you one thing that I really appreciate. You guys, I gave you pretty much an assignment to use Twitter as a space for summarizing, but there are some ingredients that make tweets very viral, right? And I don't see a whole lot of viral tweets in what we just did this week, here's an example of one that, well, actually, let's see. Are there any that actually did get retweeted? I'm scrolling down to see here. You can see how you can indicate to someone that you that you liked the tweet by using the favorite button, right? That's the little gold star, right? You can favorite like this, and then it basically tells the person that you liked theirs. But Tammy, I don't know if you can hear us or not, but I know you're online and listening.
I can hear you.
You're getting the gold star
No,
for
I can't.
expertise because you were the person who identified what makes a great tweet, and it's right there at the top. I used the hashtag LSC530. What makes a good kids book? Publishers say the great ones share common traits. Fancy Nancy author explains. And then you linked to a URL from a public radio station in California with a really great little article featuring an interview with a children's author, the author of Fancy Nancy, and an interview with her about children's literature. And I thought this was a really quality source. So I give you the gold prize for that tweet, and I obviously want to retweet it. I'm going to retweet it to my 3,500 followers, and we'll see if anybody starts following you, Tammy, because of that good information that you're sharing. So I guess my my overall observations is that we've now had an experience trying to use Twitter as a place of dialogue between the 12 of us who are enrolled in the course. And now we're going to start to use Twitter. We're going to still keep doing that because that is really cool and it's an important thing. But we're now going to start using it to do some sharing of information. Because as an intellectually curious learner, as a grad student that you are, you're constantly running up against things that are interesting or that you might think some of us might be interested in. So try this week to do something that Tammy just did. Try to share something for the rest of us that you think we might enjoy. Does anybody have any questions about that? Got it. So we're layering two different tasks. We're talking to each other about the readings, and we're sharing relevant resources that we think might be useful. Those are the two ways we're practicing using Twitter for this coming up week. Okay, back to the screen share. Our next topic is a pretty fun one. You can see it if you've got a window open there. I've got to go back a little bit here to get to my home page. Let's see if I can do that. Next question: what makes a good children's book? Each of you had the experience of reading a little bit of children's literature in the last week. So why don't we just talk a little bit about what key ideas do you think are involved in sharing, in generalizing about what makes good children's literature? Who'd like to begin?
I've always believed it has to be a little bit relatable to who's ever reading it. For instance, I just finished in the past, I think, 5 days reading the first 3 books of Percy Jackson. And like the main thing I noticed throughout the entire series was that it was very relatable to a lot of kids who have trouble with dyslexia or may feel out of place in their school. So a lot of it was that you would see these characters who are dyslexic who are actually Greek gods or demigods. And so it made it very relatable and also kind of, not inspiring, but it kind of forced imagination a little bit.
Nice. Three big ideas there: relatable, inspiring imagination, and characters who are experiencing things that that give us insight on, our diverse lived experience. Thanks for sharing. Other key ideas, like what makes good children's literature? What are the qualities that we look for? What What's your view on this?
I would say, like, reading the Bernstein Bears, you see the ideas of family and togetherness and happiness, and it's like, at first they're thinking, like, I just remember one of the books, it was all about, like, going to camp and stuff, and, and at first they're like, oh, it sounds like school, and it's like, Mom and Dad, can we just go to camp to see if you like it? Like, it evokes back these wonderful childhood memories with happy endings. And then you have like other things like Clifford that make it humorous. Yeah, he blows out the candles and everything just goes flying everywhere. It's just awesome. And we had ice cream instead. I mean, these things are humorous. They're funny. They're entertaining. They're loving, and caring, and that's part of well, in my opinion, what makes literature great for children.
I think those are two really important ideas, Michael, and I totally second. I think the sense of humor is gigantic, and I like the way you talk about the way in which values messages are presented, that is something we look for in children's literature. The book that I read this week, I Kill a Mockingbird, has definitely got a family in the middle of a crisis, and you see how their love for each other and their confidence in working through crisis is really comforting, right? And even though that you're reading it, there's things are bad, you feel there's some sense of like, there's going to be a happy ending because you feel this family is so beautifully strong and it's powerful. So values and sense of humor are two other variables. What other key ideas do we look for in distinguishing quality children's literature?
I feel like the books I chose this week have a bit of a challenge in them, like to the reader. One of my choices was a book called A Rule Is to Break, A Child's Guide to Anarchy. So it was kind of about them like living without rules and speaking directly to the reader. And another one of my choices was Colonial Voices, Hear Them Speak. And it's all different points of view about a child delivering information about the Boston Tea Party and how, like, say, the candlestick maker doesn't want to go because he thinks they should pay the tax on the tea, and the school mistress says they should go because it's good to know, like broaden your mind and learn about why you should ask for representation. So I think that kind of challenging the reader to see the same event from different perspectives is really good to introduce early on.
Love it. And both of those books really do introduce point of view and also perhaps feature characters with distinct identities and distinct world views. So that seems like that seems like a quality that's really important. Amy, you have a perspective on what makes a good children's book? What qualities you look for in a good children's book?
Well, I was thinking the Ramona the Pest books. I read a couple of those because my daughter's really into them right now, and I had read them, way back when, but hadn't familiarized myself again with them, and so it was interesting to read them and try to get a perspective of what she really likes about them. And I think there was a chapter in the Kimberly Reynolds book talking about family, and I think my daughter's only in first grade, and I think what Kimberly Reynolds had said, that these books they deal with typical problems that the kids might encounter, but they're all wrapped up and nice and neat and done in a chapter. And so it's comforting, I think, because they always fix whatever issue it is, and they're common issues. They're things that the kids deal with, and it's sort of like a sitcom. It's all done, very quickly, and makes you feel good in the end. So.
Yep. In fact, that Reynolds nicely helps us understand how an adventure situated within an ordinary context is a very nice package, right? There's an adventure, but it's situated in a really ordinary part of the world, so it's just the right level of challenge and complexity for children. Okay, so Aaron, Christine, we're glad you're joining us. Can we check your microphone and see how you're doing? Oh, I don't know if she's hearing us. So I think this idea of reflecting on our own judgments about what makes for great literature is a really great segue for us to talk a little bit about our experience with Kimberly Reynolds. And I personally, the first time I read this book kept me up at night because it had so many intriguing ideas. So I thought we could just go on an idea from the book that captured your imagination. You might call attention to a tweet that you made, or maybe like me, you've got I've got underlines, and I've got underlines in parts of the book that captured my imagination. Let's just go around the room and we'll each share an idea from Kimberly Reynolds that captured our imagination, and then we're going to drill down a little bit more deeply on chapters 4 and 5. Who wants to go first?
I guess I will. One of the ideas is, like, I tweeted about it, but the idea that this togetherness idea in children's literature is making a comeback, I thought that was really interesting because to me it seems like we need a reinforcement of face-to-face family time in an era where every kid has an iPhone or an iPod or is more likely to be on their computer in their room, or that idea of spending time with your parents or hanging out with your brothers and sisters and trying not to isolate yourself with your technology would kind of be an idea in literature now.
Responding almost as an antidote to the problem of growing up alone in a broadband wireless household where everyone is multitasking on their machines. Thanks for sharing that important idea. Other ideas that grabbed you as you read this slender little book about children's literature, past, present, and future?
Yeah, I just remember there was one part where she was talking about the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I really liked that, especially the Christian values, and like that's just such a creative way to teach kids what's actually happening in the world, but not actually like going into like a fantasy place, like making everything like, instead of saying the Nazi police, the secret police, if you will, and bringing them into like a world of like with talking animals and stuff, and trying to reenact that whole thing of what happened during Hitler and the concentration camps.
Yeah, it's interesting how she references Lewis in that last chapter about the ethical issues in children's literature, and the way the kind of ethical issue of whether you should reveal or conceal your ideological position as an author. And that is actually a pretty deep question when it comes to children's literature. And so Lewis's work has inspired a lot of commentary addressing that issue. Because a child will read the Narnia Chronicles without understanding its deeply moral and Christian values and the situatedness in the context of post-war England. But that question about, she says on page 115, the ethics of concealing an ideological position may be troubling, but no text is free from ideology, and a case could be made to show that Lewis's work often succeeds in helping children become the kind of readers who are able to interrogate texts effectively at a later stage. Of course, I love that idea because I'm sure the Chronicle of Narnia has helped me to be a more critical reader, and I think that's an interesting hypothesis that maybe such books that have these concealed allegories might actually promote children's more metacognitive reading. So thanks for sharing that good insight, Michael. Other key passages or big ideas that you appreciated when you read this amazing book by Kimberly Reynolds?
Mine came from, I think it was in chapter 4, it was like around page 80, where she's talking about using animals as a way of connecting with the readers. I'm a huge fan of like Avi and the Phil Pullman series, and I love the idea of not only characterizing animals with humanistic, characterizing animals with humanistic emotions, feelings, because it helps relate to the kids by how they feel in the adult world, but also by externalizing them by creating the demons that these characters, you see their actual physical self through an animal, which is something that not only makes the kid be like, oh cool, I could have a demon one day, or what would my demon be? It would really make them engage with the literature, but also it's a good way of just creating a good story that captures a kid's ideas.
Love it. So glad you raised that issue. It was a really insightful part of the book. And we did notice your own little cat wandering around at the beginning of the hour, so we get the animal lover in you appreciates the nuance there.
That was Gigi. She pops in all the time. I have 2 adopted cats, so it's sad.
Wonderful. Other key passages or big ideas in Reynolds that struck you as provocative, important, relevant to your interests?
I had kind of one thought about it. Can you guys all hear me now? I think I fixed it. Sorry, it took me a while to figure out the video and the sound.
You're here. That's good.
But one of the things, when she's talking about sort of the development of children's literature in a historical context, she didn't go into it too much, but one of the things I was thinking about was like the evolution of the notion of childhood, and how, like, as children's literature kind of became a thing, sort of as this notion of children as having their own sort of mentality, and like that sort of was one thing I was keeping in mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Christine, I'm really glad you raised it. She references the work of Philip de Ariès, whose writings about the invention of childhood as a characteristic form of modernity is a really important influence. I myself have been really influenced by the work of Neil Postman, who wrote a great book back in the 80s called The Disappearance of Childhood, where he observes at different points in American culture the concept of childhood has changed even over the last 50 years. But it's true. We can hardly understand children's literature if we don't understand the constructed nature of childhood itself, right? And I thought I liked how she talked a little bit about the sort of economics of the children's publishing world. Somebody tweeted about that really powerful. I don't know. I can't remember if it was Billy. Maybe it was Billy, or I'm not sure. Maybe it was Jordana. I'm not sure. But somebody tweeted about how, you know, it's kind of amazing to see these publishers in the 1700s using all these special new technologies of paper, right, to attract parents, you know, to buy these cool new, you know, educational materials. So there's always a political and economic context for children's literature, for sure. Other reflections on parts that grabbed you or intrigued you or troubled you? Okay.
I could say that that she mentioned, I think, in a few different spots about the messages for adults that are often in these children's books that, you know, whether sometimes I think they're meant to be there, and sometimes I think they maybe aren't writing the book what they think they're writing, if that makes any sense, that they think they're writing at the child's level and maybe they're not. Maybe it actually comes out more, you know, because this is an adult writing it. You know, there ends up being more messages for the adult than for the child, you know, without meaning to be. But then I think, you know, there are plenty of books like the Narnia series that, you know, definitely the messages I think were meant to be there, you know, the Christian messages as well. So I tweeted on the book Little Prince, was something I had thought of, as far as having, I think that's really more of a book for adults, but it's written in a childlike way. So.
Yes, more about the romance of childhood than the actual experience of being a child.
Yeah. I think in some ways Winnie the Pooh is like that too. It's got a lot of fun passages for kids, but I think the whole idea, like what you just said, the experience of childhood is, what Winnie the Pooh is all about. And, reading it as an adult, you get a very different perspective on those series of books than as a child. A child just gets these fun little stories in there, but I think as an adult you're seeing the whole perspective of what you would like to see a childhood like. Maybe not what it is, but what a fun childhood could be like.
The ideals actually turn out
right.
pretty powerful. One of the parts of the Kimberly Reynolds books that I think has a lot of relevance to where the class is going are the two chapters 4 and 5. So after this class is over, that is after the live Google Hangout is over, I'd like you to share your thoughts about Kimberly Reynolds chapters 4 and 5 in this way. I'd like you to make at least one comment responding to Chapter 4 on the Titan pad, responding to some key ideas that I've put up there. And then I want you to make at least one comment responding to Chapter 5. Let me show you the concepts that I've called out for your critical review and attention. In Chapter 4, I'd like you to pay attention to how she defines the concept of genre fiction and why she thinks it's important. I'd like you to see if you can notice what she says about how genre fiction supports reading development. Here's a comment we started to tackle a little bit tonight: why animal stories are stable genres, how and why genres mutate, common themes in family stories as a genre, and themes in contemporary family stories. So the idea is, I think I say make 3 comments. What I'd like you to do is make at least one comment on the Titan pad, and you'll remember not to forget to put your name in front of your comment so that I can see who's commenting and what you're saying, right? So those themes, I think, are really important for stuff that we're going to encounter later on this semester. And in Chapter 5, these concepts are concepts that we're going to come back to. And so I want to make sure you really are thinking about these and looking carefully at how Reynolds articulates these ideas in her work. Number 1, how children's literature presents the future, the representation of death, risk, and harm, the shift from optimism to pessimism. That is a very interesting and important theme for us this semester. Something Kimberly Reynolds calls eco-tragic futures, and that's basically our fear of global warming. And number 5, cautionary tales. So pay attention to what Reynolds is saying in that section of Chapter 4 and 5, and so do some summarizing and some analyzing to comment. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, so let's go to our next activity. What I want to do is take a look at Mo Willems. Before we look at this video, let's just do a little prior knowledge check-in. What do we know about Mo Willems among the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us? Let's just do a data dump. What do you know about Mo Willems?
His books fill up at least the shelf in my library.
Okay, good. What else?
I know that they're really popular with the kids that come through. I'm at least giving one out at least once a day.
Wow.
And I know that he uses a lot of them to the pigeon and the elephant, or pigeon and the pig.
Mhm.
Don't let the pigeon drive the bus. He uses them to give very classic tales of friendship and sharing and being adult, or acting adult.
Very nicely put. Anybody else want to add some other information? What do you know about Mo Willems, perhaps the most famous, popular, and wealthy children's author illustrator today? Any other information you know about him? Okay, we're going to watch this short video. We're going to watch it together. As we're watching it, I want to see if you can pay attention to what we observe as the relationship between the author and the audience, right? What we learn about Mo Willems and what we learn about his audience by watching this video. So if everybody can mute your microphone, I'm going to just turn on the screen share, and we'll watch this short video. It's just about 3 minutes long, and then we'll talk about what did we observe, what did we learn from this video about Mo Willems and his relationship with his audience. Okay, let's see if I can make the screen big. Now I'll do a screen share. Let's just see if I can figure this out. Uh-oh.
Hi there, I'm Earl, spokesperson for the Salt Lake City Public Library.
Uh-oh.
Today, I'm
Hold on
super
here.
excited to be talking to Mo Willems here at the King's English Bookshop. How are you doing, Mo?
It's good to meet you, Earl.
Oh, good to meet you too. So, Mo, can I drive the bus?
Well, I don't think that you can drive the bus, and I don't think the pigeon can drive the bus either.
Aww.
I'm sorry, but it has mostly to do with insurance.
Oh, that makes sense. My mom would probably say something like that too. So, Mo, why does the pigeon always seem to show up in every one of your books?
Well, the pigeon hates it when I make books that are not about him.
Oh,
So when I'm not looking, at the end of the day, every night he sneaks into one of my books.
really?
Yeah, he's a stick.
Oh, that pigeon. Well, I hear you've got a new book coming out just last week, actually.
That's right. It's called Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs.
Oh,
Retold by me, Mo Willems.
wow. What's it about?
Well, you could guess, it's about a poorly supervised little girl, Goldilocks. She goes into the house of the three dinosaurs. The question is, are they setting a trap? Not. If they are, she escaped.
Oh, that sounds a little bit scary.
It is. It's torn from the head.
Oh, my goodness. Well, did you always know you wanted to write kids' books?
I don't think I always knew I wanted to write kids' books, but I always knew I wanted to draw and be funny.
Uh-huh.
So when I was very young, I wanted to make comics. I loved Peanuts. I drew Snoopy and Charlie Brown all the time. And then I started to draw my own characters as I got older. And then I started to make cartoon movies when I was a grown-up. Then, children.
Wow. What kind of stuff do you like to draw?
Well, when I doodle, I like to draw anything. I like to kind of turn off my head and just go and let the spirit. But for my books, I tend to draw a lot of animals. Elephants, pigs, and pigeons, and naked mole rats, and dinosaurs, and sometimes little bugs.
Whoa. What made you want to start drawing books for kids?
Well, I like making stories, and I like communicating those stories. And one of the great things about making picture books that is draw books like these that are for children. Not all for children, sometimes for children. What's great about them is you have a lot of freedom. You can decide how tall the books are, or how wide the books are, or what colors you use. And I found that very interesting. It's a lot more fun than working with television, which is what I do.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, do you have any tips for kids who want to become authors or even illustrators?
Well, you can't want to become an author or an illustrator. The way to do it is to start writing now. When you write a story, and you draw on that story, you are an author or illustrator. There's a difference between being a writer and being someone who's published. The way to become someone who's published when they grow up is to write every day.
Well, my friends and I have actually started drawing some pigeon books. Would you like to see them?
No, sure, absolutely. Anybody who infringes on my copyright, I'm interested.
Okay, tell me what you think.
Okay. Who wants an art show? This is very funny. This is a little bit like Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs, yet it's a spoof of something that's already been established. This is based on a famous painting by Marco. It's a very funny idea, and I like it a lot. The pigeon wants a canoe. That's very funny. I like how his head is gone, but we still know who he is.
Made it easier to draw.
Yeah. Don't let the pigeon ride a dragon, no way. I love it. You know, I get in the mail every month tons of drawings like this from kids who've made their own pigeons. It's pretty awesome. Good job, Braxton. Don't let the pigeon ride in the Tour de France. Very nice. And I like his bicycle helmet / beret. Don't let the pigeon be captain. Wow. And there it is on a big boat and it's fishing. And look at how angry the shark is in these two mouths.
I'm kind of scared of the shark.
It's pretty awesome. All right. Can I ride the serpent, please? Don't let the pigeon ride the serpent. And he's got this great sort of Little Red Riding Hood, Little Black Riding Hood. Oh, wow. Cutest pigeon.
It's a robot.
Don't let the pigeon be a robot. So it's a robot pigeon. I like that. Don't let the pigeon play jacks. This giant jack, and there he's playing. And he's got his jack hat on.
I think all kinds of dangerous things could happen if the pigeon had jacks.
That's right, absolutely. All right, here we go. Olivia's is the pigeon teaches dance. I love it, and I love all the crazy costumes, and again, this sort of silly hat and whatnot. And it does beg the question, is the pigeon a boy or a girl? You know what the answer is?
I don't know.
Depends what you think.
Oh.
Don't let the pigeon be an author. This is so hard to know which one this is author. That's very funny.
This one's by me.
Oh, by you. Wow, very impressive. I like the mustache. And don't let the pigeon ride a horse. Now the horse is sort of leaning on the bubble.
I think so, yeah.
Well, those are awesome.
Thanks so much, Mo. It's been lots of fun talking to you.
Sure, it's been great, Earl. I'll see you later.
Oh.
Can I just say something really
Okay.
fast about that video?
Go right ahead.
That's actually filmed at my library that I'm currently working at.
Awesome.
The King's English Bookstore is actually the most famous bookstore in Salt Lake City, and the second I realized that that was from Salt Lake, I actually know the lady who made that video. So that was just very cool. But yeah, well done, Secretary. I was very proud to see that my library made it onto my class, made my day.
You are 1 degree of separation from fame, too, because, like, let's be honest, that's awesome.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so there's a personal connection to the video. We're discussing the question, what do we learn about Mo Willems, the author, and what do we learn about his audiences from watching this video? Who'd like to go first?
It was nice to see an author who, in terms of like accessibility, was making himself accessible to his audience even outside of. That makes sense to me.
Why is that important to you?
I think he's kind of laying the groundwork for establishing in kind of like a trust way, like if the children associate this person with this character or this type of writing, in breaking that, then he becomes like another person. You know, he's kind of maintaining his relationship with these kids inside and outside of the literature.
I'm really appreciative of that, Chelsea. Remember in Kimberly Reynolds, she talks a little bit about how really sometimes children's authors have an imagined audience, right? And you have to imagine an audience if you're going to write for children or for any audience. And in this case, we see some appreciation that Mo Willems recognizes the real children who are his audience. And that's done through the display of the children's own artwork. Mm-hmm. He literally says, you can be an author too, right? And that tells us something about his own sense of identity as someone who is inspiring perhaps future authors.
Yeah, like he acknowledges his sense of responsibility in their not only creative process, but in acknowledging the things that they're capable of in their life.
Good. Other comments on what did you learn about Mo Willems, the author, and his audiences, his readers? What did you learn in this video?
I thought it was interesting when he said he likes to draw animals, and that's probably a lot of what his audience is responding to. It's sort of like the, it's part of the like children's literature being part of the natural world, which Kimberly Reynolds talks about a little bit. But it's kind of there's like kind of a separate thing in children's literature about animals, and sort of this like the animal personification or the animal characters, which is really interesting, and I think that's very present in a lot of children's literature.
Yep, absolutely. And it was interesting how even in the children's own artwork, we saw evidence of really playing with the animal-human synergy or symbiosis there. And the image I was noticing was the robot duck, right? This is a cyborg animal, and these days we're seeing and thinking a lot about cyborgs because we have a lot of artificial intelligence technologies helping us be better humans. So the robot duck seems especially intriguing to me. It's an animal, it's kind of a human, and it's kind of a machine. Right? Other elements in that video that were noteworthy or interesting to you?
I mean, in terms of his audience, it's all about like don't do the most ridiculous things. I mean, you could see from the puppet, like he was all like don't ride the horse, don't have a pigeon ride a horse, don't have a pigeon do all these most ridiculous things. So he doesn't like he really wants to kind of make it comical in a sense, like we've been saying before, and like really for kids or I guess anybody.
Michael, I appreciate your point about there is the kind of strange way to approach playfulness. We saw his playfulness in a couple of instances verbally. When the puppet asked him what was the book about, he said, well, it was about a poorly supervised child, right? Who nobody was paying attention to. And then there was another place of comedy when he referred to the children's drawings as possibly violating copyright, right? Which I thought was hopefully a playful indication of that. I do want to invite you to join me. This October 6th. I am doing a free MOOC. That's a massive online open course in copyright and fair use, where we can unpack the little statement that Mo Willems made about copyright. And you're welcome to join me for that free online course. I'll give you a little bit more information as it gets closer. It's kind of a self-paced video course, a little bit like this one, but obviously not for credit. But I think that Mo Willems really wants to help his audience exercise their own creativity. And the kind of children's books he's writing clearly inspire and motivate children to be creative themselves. So that, I think, is a really interesting manifestation of the kind of skills that children's authors bring to children. I'm going to do some screen sharing again now because I want to kind of move forward. We're getting to the end of our time together. Here's what I'd like you to do as you move toward next week. First, we're doing an activity called Books versus Movies. I'd like you to watch this YouTube video comparing various adaptations of Peter Pan and then brainstorm ideas. Imagine how this video might inspire creative programming ideas for a school or public library program and use the Etherpad to put your reactions, reflections, and creative brainstorm ideas here. So we're thinking a little bit about the relationship between books and movies, especially in children's literature and especially in Peter Pan. So that's a little activity I'd like you to complete. And then we're going to talk a little bit about this issue of children's literature as the new golden age. I'll just show you a few minutes from this great video from Harvard University children's literature professor.
If you have a Kindle, then you know that it comes in this box with Once Upon a Time marked on the side. And I love the name Kindle because it suggests that reading has real ignition power. If you made the mistake of buying a Nook, you may have associated to Longfellow's wonderful phrase about the love of learning, the sequestered nooks, and all the sweet serenity of books. So both Amazon and Barnes & Noble are really capitalizing on Once Upon a Time, on the power of cultural story. And the one I'm going to talk about tonight is Little Red Riding Hood, which takes up the question of innocence and seduction in powerful ways. It's about gluttony, sexuality, mortality, food, sex, and death, and it's a powerful story. But
okay, now that doesn't make you want to read and watch more. I don't know what would, right? Here's the assignment. A new golden age. Watch this video on the golden age of children's literature. That's about a 2-minute video, very brief. Read the introductory chapter to the book Enchanted Hunters, that's chapter 1, or watch and listen to Maria Tatar's short talk, that's the video I just shared with you. So either read the introductory chapter or the video on the talk on the different versions of Little Red Riding Hood to examine the role of children's stories in adulthood. On the Flipgrid, contribute a comment by responding to these questions and applying what you learned from Kimberly Reynolds. One thing I'd like you to remember, before you contribute to the Flipgrid, be sure to view and respond to the comments of other students so that we don't end up, you all say the same thing. Use your knowledge gained from the reading to answer these questions. Is the function of children's stories for children and adults different now as compared to earlier eras? Why or why not? What factors contributed to the rise of children's literature during the 19th century? And are we living in a new golden age? Why or why not? So before I go on, let me just see if you have any questions about those assignments to be completed before next Wednesday. Does anybody have any questions about those?
Yeah, I do. Is there actually like a place where I could find all these assignments online?
Yes. Well, you should be at the website, text-tools-children-youth. See how I'm screen sharing right now, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
So that is our course website. If you go to the URI Sakai page, you get linked to that. And that's where all of these assignments are located. And so, for instance, let me just go back to screen share. Right? So this website, I guess I'll put the, Michael, can you see the group chat that's on the left-hand side of your page right now?
I think so.
It says group chat. I'm going to just link the website here. I'm going to just dump it in the chat. There it is. There's the main homepage of our class, and everything we do is there. Text-tools-children-youth. All of these underlined parts are linkable. So this assignment says, watch this short video. It's a minute long on the golden age of children's literature. Then if you want to read the introductory chapter, that links to this beautiful book preview. You can see the book's called Enchanted Hunters, The Power of Stories in Childhood. And the book preview gives you that chapter, for free without having to buy the book. I did just share with you the video talk. You see, every link that I click on here takes you to the materials that you need to complete the assignment. Do you have any other questions about these assignments? Okay, so then let's look at the big one. This is the real piece of writing. Graded. Ooh, what happened there? Hold on just a sec. This is the graded piece of writing that's due a week from today. It's your first reflective writing, and here's the actual assignment sheet. When you click on it, you can see that the essay is due September 30th. Online learning can be an intellectually stimulating experience, building knowledge and providing opportunities for reflection and critical thinking, but it can also be isolating and frustrating. What I'd like you to do is reflect on these 3 topics in your essay. Reflect on your activity as a learner by synthesizing the ideas that you're learning, obviously from the reading and the videos and the discussions, especially describing the key knowledge, content, information, and ideas that you're learning, and why it's meaningful to you. And the second part of the essay, I'd like you to reflect on your learning in relation to the after-class activities, to the peers that are in the class, your reading and searching strategies, your technology issues. And then finally, I'd like you to do a little brainstorming on what topics or issues this course is raising for you, what topics you might want to learn more about, what skills you might want to strengthen, because you're starting to realize that you can take this course in a bunch of different directions based on your own interests in the topic of children, literature, media, and technology. So I'm expecting that this reflective essay be posted as a blog post and that you use a combination of language, images, sound, and multimedia as part of your response. And I'm expecting it to be about 3 to 5 pages long. That's about 750 to 1,500 words. So it's not just a little blog post, it's a real essay. If you want, you can even put the Word document up and submit it that way. But make sure to remember to use a combination of language, images, sound, and multimedia as part of your expression. When I grade this essay, I'll be looking at these 3 criteria for evaluation. Have you done active summarizing of the big ideas from the course readings and videos that are meaningful to you and explained why they're meaningful? Have you reflected on your own learning and thought about yourself as a learner, especially in relation to the online tools we're using? And is the essay well written, well organized, informative, thoughtful, and reflective? Have you used APA citation to reference the works you use in your writing? The grammar and spelling are perfect, and you've used some form of multimedia expression. What questions do you have about this assignment?
I have a question about what sort of multimedia we could incorporate.
Great question. So one of the things that's really cool about the internet is there are so many different forms of multimedia. So a photograph would be an example of a very simple choice, right? A well-selected photograph could add value to the meaning of your blog post. Another example of multimedia content could be a hyperlink to some new content that is relevant to the ideas that you are developing. Many students like to incorporate a video as they will embed a YouTube video that extends or identifies a point that they are referencing. So on the internet, you're going to find all kinds of different resources, but those are 3 examples of resources that show that you're thinking about the capacity that we now have to use not just language, but images, sound, moving images, and other text forms as well. Thank you for asking that good question. What other questions do you have about this assignment? Okay, there's one more thing I want to call your attention to then before I let you go. Here it is. on the website, we are doing a little bit of reading. Reading is not very heavy for next week because you guys are going to be doing this writing. But I would like you to do these 3 things for next week to prepare for our class. Our topic next week is about children's reviews, children's book reviews, and other forms of reviews. So I'd like you to read this short article from Kay Horning called Writing a Review. It's in her book From Cover to Cover, Evaluating and Reviewing Children's Books, 2nd edition. I've put the chapter up here as a PDF, and I'd like you to read that review, that chapter. I'd also like you to read this short article in School Library Journal by my friend Lisa Guernsey called Are E-Books Any Good? Do digital books help young kids to learn to read, or are they mostly fun and games? So I'd like you to read that essay as well. And then I would like you to poke around these review websites just so you're becoming familiar with them. We have a subscription to the Children's Technology Review, and then I've placed a link to Voya, Common Sense Media, the Children's Book Review, the Horn Book, School Library Journal, YALSA, the New York Times Children's Book Review, and you may be familiar with another website where children's books are reviewed, like on Goodreads or any other place. So what I'd like you to do is get a little bit familiar with these review websites, because we're going to be doing an activity next week that will depend on your being a little bit familiar with those websites. Okay, so that's your work for next week. Any questions? I think you guys seem okay, right? Okay. Yes, yes?
Oh, good. You can hear me. I was just wondering if we are not sure about how to embed like videos or things in our blog posts. Is there a good resource?
If you want to learn how to embed into a blog post, yeah, let me do a demo right now. How's that? Okay, so here we are at the website. So I have embedded this. You see how I've embedded this YouTube video from Mo Willems? Can you guys actually see that or no? You can see that, right? Can you see my screen? Yeah. Maybe you can. Oh my goodness, look how tiny it is. So what that looks like goes something like this. I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to find a really great video. I probably will go to my own videos, just because that's a little bit safer, right? I know what those are. Media Ed Lab, right? And whoa. Okay. Here's a speech I gave. Here's a speech I gave from the Family Online Safety Institute, 20 minutes long. So when I go to any YouTube video, I can use this button called Share. Do you guys see how I opened up that button called Share?
No.
Did you see that? So make the screen really big, and underneath the title of the video, there's Add to, a plus button. There's a Share button, and then it says More. So I'm going to demonstrate when I go back up here to play the video. Right, the video plays. I can add it to a playlist. I can share it. When I share it, I'm going to pause it right here. When I share it, this panel opens. I can share, I can embed, or I can email it. If I want to embed this video in my WordPress blog, I highlight, I copy this special code right here, that's in the box. I copy it, and then I go back to my YouTube page. I open up an edit window, because now I'm editing my YouTube page. So notice how my edit window opens, and I'm going to just plunk it right in there at the top. To do that, I have to toggle between two windows. You see one window says visual, and the other says text. So websites are always built about with code. We're using a visual editor, but I want to switch to the text editor. You see how it has all the HTML code there? It's showing me that's what the website's really built with. So I just go to the place where I want the YouTube video to go. I paste it in there, and then I don't forget to hit the save button. Right? Now I've hit the save button. And when I view my website again, the video that I just put up is there. See how nicely it is embedded? So if you want to try embedding a video, it's a pretty simple process that I just demonstrated in a minute or two. But you can also go to YouTube or go to Google and type in embed video and get the same instructions in a step-by-step format to walk you through. It's about 5 steps altogether. So that's a simple way to embed a video into your WordPress blog. What other questions do you have? Okay, I'm gonna sign off then. Tonight I've been very, very glad we had Tammy for a while, Chelsea, Christine, Aaron, Michael. Thank you for joining me for this live class. We'll meet again next Monday night at 7 o'clock. I'll be looking forward to reading your WordPress blogs, your first reflective essays. If you have any questions, of course, the best way to reach me is on Twitter at Renee Hobbs. But remember to use the LSC530 hashtag if you email me so that I can respond to your email promptly. Thanks again for joining us, those of you who are watching our recorded lesson. And students, thanks to you for participating tonight in our live dialogue. I'll see you guys next week.